There you go. Done it.
Oh, okay. What do you have to do?
Okay. I just clicked a couple of buttons and it just said you're live. There might just be the delay though.
What's your vJUG password?
Come on. Yay, there we go.
Oh, there you go.
Right, so it's about 30-second delay.
Okay.
We are live.
Awesome. We are live.
So 1 second, let me just tell people. Excellent, people see us. Okay, so,
Press record when you're ready. You ready?
okay, ready to go. Okay,
Cool.
and welcome to this which is I guess virtual and not virtual at the same time, because this is a combined session with the virtual JVM and also NightHacking. If Stephen were to lean in, hello. Stephen owns another virtual group, I guess, called NightHacking.com. And that's been around a fair bit longer than the virtual JVM. So for the vJUG guys, feel free to check out nighthacking.com. For the NightHacking guys, please feel free to come and say hi at virtualjug.com. And today we've got two new speakers, Manny and
Simon.
Daniel.
Hello.
Both from the UK, both from the London JVM, right?
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Awesome.
JC Jug.
And how are you enjoying JavaLand today?
It's been busy, fantastic. We've had a presentation this morning again on OpenJDK and seeing a lot of people in the area here. A good keynote. Yeah.
Keynote was good.
Keynote was good,
the
yeah.
20 years
20
of
years.
Java past. I'm looking a bit to the future as well. It's great chats. People already, Molly.
Yeah.
JDK stuff. We've shared stuff which we'll share with you in a minute. And,
Yeah,
we had some good feedback so far. So
Yeah.
all good.
Yeah,
Cool,
exciting.
Awesome. And so the reason we're not just virtual today is we're live from a conference in Germany, just a place called Phantasialand, which is kind of like a theme park. And yeah, JavaLand is a second year old conference now.
Yeah, we were here last year as well, actually.
Yeah, we were
Yeah,
here last year.
yeah.
Last year, weren't
Yeah.
you?
We were,
we
yeah.
were, yeah.
And they got about 1,000 people. So it's going to be a good conference. And today, what are you going to be talking to us about?
So we're going to show a little bit about, like we've been talking a lot about OpenJDK, but today we're going to show a little bit about how you build something, how you change something in the JDK, and a sneak peek into Java 9, especially the
New
the,
module
the
stuff,
new
Monty,
module
is
stuff,
very
yeah,
popular with people.
image, yeah, and a little bit about like the backdoor tricks of how to update the image without having to wait for like 5 or 10 minutes of compilation, which I earlier spoke to you about. So we can do both on JDK 8 and JDK 9. So
Trying to get that rapid feedback cycle when
exactly,
developing
yeah.
on the JDK and stuff.
It's all time permitted, so let's see how the demo gods are with us. If they're happy, then everything goes rolling and smooth. Otherwise, we'll be just showing one thing and that'll be it here.
Okay, awesome. And for anyone online watching, if you anyone in person here, just throw something at us and ask a question if you want to interrupt. Online, if you can either ping us on IRC, and I'll be monitoring that in the virtual JVM, which is freenode #virtual JVM, or you can do that from the virtual JVM site. And from NightHacking site, how do you want people to ask
They
questions?
should go same place.
Okay, so NightHacking people, if you can view in the same place, so freenode # or #virtual JVM, or if you go to virtualjug.com, you can ask questions directly through there. So let's get started.
Yeah, so just to give you an overview, we'll have a few presentation slides and then give you a hands-on demo, and we'll close with Q&A if there's time, and that'll be it. So, Dan, what do you think the title of the slide means to you? Why do you think I striked off that JDK there, and I've written Java instead? What do you think there's a catch to this?
We get asked this a lot, Marty, don't we?
Yeah.
We travel around to quite a few conferences and do this kind of gig. And people often confuse the Java platform, don't they? Or the Java
Yeah.
language with
Yeah.
the platform in terms of the JVM.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's what you're going for here. New
Yeah.
title, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Saying,
yeah.
Being very clear, there's the Java
Yeah.
language,
Yeah.
JDK,
Yeah.
and the JVM.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, so there is a virtual difference. At the same time, there isn't a difference when we speak about it. So you will be building the JDK, but you'll also be building the language and the platform together. And you normally don't see the difference, but when you see the repos, the different folder structure, and you give the different commands, you'll see you're actually touching the language and the platform separately, and they are separate in the source code, as you say, the OpenJDK source code.
Totally, yeah.
But when we speak to each other, we don't refer to them as separate. We say Java, which we actually mean the language and the platform. Sometimes we say JVM, when we mean the platform. and maybe the giant language in it. So there's the difference. So let's get started. So what's OpenJDK? It's like a million lines of explanation of what it is. So we've simplified it, right, Dan?
Pretty much.
What do you think it is?
It is simply put the reference implementation for Java now in the money. Ever
Exactly,
since Java
yeah.
7, a few years back now, it is the reference implementation based, which Oracle used to build their JDK, IBM used to build their JDK as well.
Yeah,
So,
Red Hat and everybody else who you download JDK images from, they all use the OpenJDK. It's the central pool. It's also free and open source, isn't it? Everybody can jump into it, isn't it? Everybody can look at the source
We'll
code.
show a bit more in a minute, Manu,
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
literally jump on, you can clone the repos using Mercurial, HG, and have a look. Actually, I find it, when I first started playing around with this, it's really fun to actually look at the Java classes and language stuff that you use every day in your day-to-day work. Look at the double class, look at the random class.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought it was-
We,
that was super
we'll,
cool,
be,
yeah.
we'll be touching some of those in a little bit, isn't it? So we did say earlier, right? Source code to build your language and the platform, so not just the language or not just the platform.
Yeah.
Also, we get a chance to learn about the internals of the language and the platform, which we don't get a chance for many other languages. I don't know of another language other than Java that does that.
There's probably a few others source
Yeah,
code available.
there's
actually, like
the C#
Ruby and so
now
forth.
recently.
Yeah, C#. of
But
course.
this has been there for quite some time now, isn't it?
And it's
Yeah.
nice to look behind the curtain, so to speak,
Exactly,
of the language that
yeah.
we use every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
As developers.
Yeah. So what does the OpenJDK consist of? So there are two angles to look at it, isn't it? So earlier I mentioned to you about repos. So the OpenJDK is actually a collection of 7 or 8 repos, and it's been written in primarily two main languages: Java itself and C++. And you'll actually see from the image on the right, the pie chart on the right, to my right, maybe to your left, the blue indicates that Java is written in Java and a certain percentage in C++.
A lot of people find the Java written in Java quite strange, don't
Yeah,
they?
yeah, we'll get to that next. So that brings us to bootstrapping. So Java written in Java means you got to use Java to build Java. So if you see from the image here, we are using an existing JDK, using a new source code, which is OpenJDK, and we are building a new JDK from that, which will be the next version of the version we used. So, for example, OpenJDK 7 was built using JDK 6, and then we got JDK 7 out of that, and so on and so forth.
It's a little bit like the film Inception. 25 viewers at home have seen the film Inception. It's like stepping
Exactly.
inside the dream to step
Yeah,
inside the dream.
yeah,
isn't it?
similar, something similar. We also have another concept called boot images, which we have in detail in another section in this slide deck. We won't cover that now, but which actually in short means you first build an image of JDK, say 9, and then you use the JDK 9 again on OpenJDK 9 to build JDK 9 again.
Yeah.
Primarily, we see that by doing this, you benefit a lot because the JDK 9 compiler is smarter than the JDK 8 compiler.
Certain optimizations might
Yeah,
be
exactly,
different,
and
that's the point.
the binaries are going to be different. Of course, I haven't seen any in practice a comparison, but it'll be interesting to know what the differences are.
Looking at it,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. So some of these commands we would use because OpenJDK has been built using the old make system, Mercurial and all that, so we got to get familiar with the make
It's
commands.
worth mentioning, Manny, actually. We're going to give a demo in a minute, aren't we? So
Exactly.
appreciate that people at home probably haven't seen the code, and
Sure.
stuff, but we're going to show you that in a
Yeah,
minute. So.
yeah, absolutely. So just quickly, modern day tooling, we all know, git clone, repo name, git pull origin master to get down all the latest
My
changes.
day job, yeah.
Yeah, we do that on MVN clean install that basically has the source code ready, installs it. Unfortunately, those are not the exact steps for building OpenJDK. Instead we have HG clone, URL address, a name.
And just worth mentioning, HG is Mercurial.
Mercurial,
Yeah.
that's right,
Which is
yeah.
like very similar to Git,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Now,
slightly different.
something similar to HG pull or git pull is get sources, simply because OpenJDK is made up of so many different repos. You can't have one HG command to get all the repos down. So the get source simplifies that for us.
It's several roots, Money, as
Exactly.
opposed to like one sort of root with many nested
Yeah,
directories. That's
absolutely.
Like many
Yeah.
roots,
Yeah, and then you do the make clean images instead of doing the Maven clean install. Now the images is quite similar to looking at the JDK or the JRE that you download from Oracle's website or IBM or another
Almost like
Java
disk
JVM.
images, effectively.
Yes, yeah,
Process.
yeah. We'll see that in a second because you'll see a folder called images. So the next command is actually not Maven clean install or any other. It's to basically configure your environment first, and then basically run the next make images.
Yeah, we'll show them.
Yeah. So we will basically switch quickly to the demo mode.
Quick question before we go there. From Amorphous and IRC, why do you decide to use Mercurial and not Git?
So, well, Dan, do you want to go explaining why Mercurial
Is
not
this a
Git?
history lesson?
It's a very brief history lesson in that we haven't actually got sort of control of that money, have we? It's
Yeah.
the Oracle repositories, and at the time it was the actual version control was chosen, it was Mercurial, wasn't it?
That's right,
I don't
yeah.
believe Git was particularly popular at the time, so Mercurial's
Yeah,
dead. And
yeah.
just Mercurial's great, there's a few subtle differences. The big thing is Mercurial, you can't rewrite history, which is superb for something like the JDK, whereas you don't want to change or be able to change what's been changed in the past. That sounds a bit a self-referential thing, whereas Git, you can rewrite history, effectively changing history,
Yeah.
but you don't want to do that on something as important as the JDK, so Mercurial's good from that respect.
Okay, yeah. So I hope that answers his question.
Cool, thank you.
Cool. So now we're going to quickly dive into a live demo, and that would entail. So what we won't do is get sources. So imagine you've done the Git, the HG pull, the HG clone, and you've done the get sources. So the next thing we will do is
quite a bit of time, Marty.
yes, that's
So
right.
How long does that take?
20 minutes, depending on how performant your hardware is. It's faster on I've had
internet connections,
I've seen it been built in under 9 minutes, the whole thing on an EC2 cloud instance, but that was a headless Ubuntu box. But on my machine, it takes anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how big changes.
That's the actual build though, Marty, yes?
Yes.
So Simon's asking about the downloading a source.
Oh, downloading the source.
Pretty quick, isn't it, depending on your connection.
Yeah, it's under 5 minutes or so.
Okay.
But I just want to skip that step here and just go on to do the bash configure, which I showed earlier. So basically, this will go through your whole system, detect all the different components that it needs for building, and it'll say yes or no if it has them. And at the end of it, it'll give you a green flag whether we want to go further and build. And it gives you a summary of some of the things it's detected, like your operating system, your hardware, your processor architecture, the GCC compilers, C++ compiler. It'll also detect the boot JDK, which is going to use.
It's worth noting actually, Marty, I noticed you only use the bash configure.
Yeah.
Because you've already set your boot JDK, haven't you?
Yes.
On the slides we actually mentioned dash
Yes.
dash boot JDK,
Yeah.
but here we've already said it. You can
Yes.
see actually, viewers at home can see it
Yeah,
under the tools
yeah.
summary, about sort of
Yeah,
halfway down the screen.
absolutely, good spot there. Yeah, so it also knows how many cores you've got, because earlier on the slides you saw something like this command, make jobs equal to something. So by that, by default, it'll make use of the maximum number of cores it can to optimize the build and
Parallelize the build.
exactly. Parallelize the build, but you can control it down to a lower number or another number, and it's quite smart. It'll know if you give it a number that it can't handle, it'll just skip. So let's get down to make images. So imagine we've already done the configure and it was successful. We make it build its images. So by images, what we mean is we saying that here's the source code of OpenJDK, build me the JDK and the JRE that I can use in my runtime. So it's the same JDK and the JRE we download from a vendor.
A lot of us used to go to Oracle, Marty.
Exactly,
Go
yeah.
to Oracle downloads and then get in the JDK, or you can just get the JRE if you just want the JRE.
Yeah.
A lot of developers get both, don't they?
Yes. The disclaimer here I would like to make is that although Oracle does a lot more other things to the JDK before you download it, over here it's quite a vanilla JDK. It's got only the things that are there in the OpenJDK's code base.
Yeah,
So that's just a disclaimer to it. So it's not 100% the same as the JDK you would download from a vendor. So whilst this is happening, what we could do is give you okay, that's really quick. It took 47 seconds, as you can see, without any changes.
That is good.
So that's interesting, but it would be more interesting to know how quickly we can make a change to the OpenJDK and see its effects. So I've got this very small program here, which I was showing earlier to some of us in the previous presentation. So we chose a class called random, and I've written a client program which basically, which I will show you in a second, which makes use of the random, which probably you can all see now here, which makes use of the random client, of the random class, and all it does is it calls the next int function twice, stores them, and then compares them. And if it's the same, then it'll print a message saying, hey, it's the same random number. If it's not the same, then it'll say, hey, it's different random numbers. So what we'll do is we will make a change to the random class so that this client program is affected, and we'll go through certain steps, and we'll see how that works.
So we're effectively changing the randomness. of
Right.
JDK.
So just to make sure that by default the random class works and behaves just the way it's supposed to work, I also have another client program, which, since I'm quite lazy typing these commands, which basically what it does is it'll compile the client program and run it and show it to you that the random numbers it's generating is actually the random numbers you would get from your Java class. So let's run that and see what we get. Any guesses, Daniel, Simon? What are we going to see? Real quick. Oh, time out.
Yeah.
So you do, yeah, they are random numbers.
Different number then, isn't it?
Yeah, they are. All right. Oh, you're expecting same numbers?
Well, you never know your luck, do you?
All right. You want to try me running that once again? Okay, so what I have effectively done is to show that we are using JDK 9 and that the binaries were built and run from the image that we just created after building OpenJDK. I have basically outputted the version numbers there and all other information about the binary, including the random numbers and a message at the bottom saying that these numbers are random. So what we will now do is, do you know where the random class is situated? Do you know which repo it sits in? I've already given you the clue with one letter there.
Java.util.
Yes, but in the OpenJDK, it sits slightly deeper. So it's in the JDK repo, in the source folder, in the Java base folder, and then in the shares subfolder, and then the classes subfolder, and then the Java util folder, and then the random class.
So how would you find that if you didn't know?
Good question. How would you find it?
It's
You
worth
know.
mentioning, like here, in terms of the Java base, often we grep for a lot of stuff, Simon.
Yes.
Looking around, we the good old classic grep.
Yeah.
But it's worth mentioning that share in that example is shared across all the implementations. So be it Linux, be it Mac, be it Windows, that kind of thing. There is sometimes actual infrastructure-specific versions of classes that call out to native functionality, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the share is a good place to start, and a good bit of grepping.
It's a good spot because a lot of the folder structure in the OpenJDK has operating system folder names in there. So just now if you can see at the bottom in red, AIX, Linux, Mac OS X, share means shared across all these operating systems, Solaris. So these are operating
That's still a thing,
Unix, Windows. These are operating system specific classes that are in there.
Okay.
But the share contains that is something that's common to all those classes. So the other question, how do you know where what is? I think we'll show that in a second, the moment the build starts. So good question there.
I think nice
Yeah, you know where I'm going with that. Okay.
I used to grep a lot, but that makes
Yes.
sense.
So let's go and change the random class. You know, we made this mistake earlier this morning, huh? What was that mistake?
Yeah, we did a little.
Yeah.
We tried to do a sort of
So
demo earlier.
yeah, we've learned from
our
our mistakes. We got bitten by the demo gods.
This is agile programming.
It is. So we've spotted the right method we want to change so that anything calls that method, in this case the next int calls that method, is going to return the number we want. So anybody wants to shout out some numbers? I'll pick somebody from the
We need a
crowd.
random number from the audience.
Mark's looking at us. So Mark, do you have a number for us? 72.
Pick a card,
72 then. Do you see 72 there on your screen? So just so that you know that it's not something I chose. So what do you think we should do next, Daniel? Now that I've changed the random class, I know I've changed and saved it. What do you think is the next thing I should do that's sensible?
Yeah, so fundamentally, we need to make sure that change is incorporated into our JRE, don't we?
In the JDK and the JRE?
JDK,
Yeah.
yeah. So we
Spot
need to
on.
actually recompile.
So do I run this command for that?
You can do.
Yeah. So actually, whilst we were hacking on this, we hold a lot of hack days in London. I and Richard Warburton, who was another OpenJDK contributor, we were asking each other, what do I do if I changed a bunch of classes, but I don't want to wait 10 minutes for this build to happen, because this incremental build can also take a long time. So in OpenJDK 8, we would be able to inject the compiled classes, all the classes that you change, compile them and inject them into the RT jar, and it's ready to use.
Just to viewers at home, like what the RT jar is, because not everyone might know what RT jar is.
Do you want to tell us what the RT jar, since you brought it up? Okay, so basically the RT jar contains all your class files that are loaded in runtime, in short,
Yeah.
when you boot up your Java program. And in fact, by injecting this compile class into it, the next time you boot up your Java program, those classes will get loaded, and any client program that uses those classes will get the immediate bytecode from there. With the JDK 9, this is different. We don't have the RT jar anymore, and we just bumped into a folder called modules this morning, which had a few .jimage folder files, and they are in effect like the RT jar, but in the modular fashion.
I heard that broke IntelliJ removal of the RT jar.
Break a lot of tools
There's a way to fix it.
The viewers at home, with the Java 9, JDK 9 changes, there's going to be a lot of testing required, Marty, isn't there?
Exactly.
And a lot of tools do rely on IntelliJ, do rely on RT jar. So
Just its presence, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So we're really keen, actually, as part of this, sort of slightly separate to what we're talking about today. But if anyone wants to get involved and help out, we'd love them to do that. And one really good way is testing all their tools and all their open source frameworks and libraries against Java 9.
We do have a project for that, right? Testing early.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So as part of the OpenJDK, we have a test Java early project, a sub-project where we take all the open source projects, especially our favorite ones. We build them using JDK 9, OpenJDK 9 or JDK 9, the early access. We compile them, we run all our tests in them, and we run the runtime in them in a production or not production environment, but a test environment. And we record all the results or responses at every stage. And if there are problems at any of these stages, so we report both to the OpenJDK team and to the owners of the OpenJDK of the open source project, saying these things went wrong. Maybe you want to have a look at it. It could be a problem in either ends or both ends, and
you
that
feedback
exactly.
By the bug database, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and we can fix the problems way early in the process rather than towards post-release and stuff like that.
And in terms of committers on the project, is it the vast majority Oracle? Or?
Martin's probably back at base is probably the best person to answer this, but I think it's a mix now, Simon. There's quite a few Oracle ones because Oracle sort of are the stewards of Java, and they've got a lot of great knowledge in house. There's quite a few from Red Hat. Come and have a chat to us, even via IRC, via Twitter or whatever, because you have to jump through a few hoops. I mean, a project of this size and scale, and JDK powers a lot of mission critical stuff. There's obviously a few very sensible gateways in the process in terms of you can't just fork and pull like say a lot of open source projects can. But it's totally doable. You've got code in, Marnie?
I've committed.
Have a chat with us. Have a chat with the other people on the adoption mailing group, which we'll mention at the end of the talk, and we can totally help you out with that. Best thing is to do though is like Marnie's demoing now is to get started, get comfortable playing with the code,
get to understand the OpenJDK.
And then we'll show the guys and girls at home a bug database and a few other things, can't we?
Absolutely. But about the Better Rev project, right?
Oh yes, totally.
Yeah, so that's like going to be the next step, how to do the same contributions using the GitHub model.
Yeah, that's really nice. There's a wrapper effectively around the Mercurial repos from Oracle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very cool thing going on in London that we've been part of.
So it won't be, so the OpenJDK, if we go that route, won't be like how it has been where you need to be like a seasoned OpenJDK developer to commit. It'll be as if you fork the repos, you make changes to it, you commit, and your changes are automatically picked up, recognized. And the whole review process, following the GitHub, the OpenJDK rules and regulations, and all the different, and all the different dots that we got to do on the I and the crosses on the T. So we still have this building. So in the meanwhile, I will show you. So earlier, Simon, you asked this question about how do you know where what is. So I have this curiosity, what lies underneath. So what I've done is I've put together a whole set of commands which we can run now and which we will in a second, with showing the directory structures of what contains in a folder. So let's pick up, let's say, so the build folder is still in use, but we could probably go and look at the source folder, isn't it? So let's go to this folder here and run one of those three commands, shall we?
Yeah,
so I'm gonna.
Might be a bit small, Marty. So let's jump to the actual command line and we can.
Not small anymore. That's good. Good point there. So I'm going to just copy this command from here. As you guys know, I'm a bit lazy again when it comes to commands and typing commands. I'm going to paste that command here.
Are people online complaining about it?
Oh, it says no such directory because I am already in that directory.
So it's tricky and allowed.
Yes, and I'm not going to type in this, so I'm going to copy that again. And I have a feeling that it might trim off the space. Oh, it did. Okay, so that's going to show us the contents of the Java utils folder. Remember, we changed the random class in the Java utils folder, but these are the other packages in the folder. So
regex.
yeah, so these are the project folders. Sorry, these here. But these are the packages which also look like folders in which the classes or the Java source of the
Once you
class.
get down to the classes, man, it's very much what we're used to seeing as developers, aren't we? When we do
Yeah.
imports.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
So that's what I do to find out what's in there. But
That's nice to do.
yeah, over here I did say -d to just see the directories, but I'm going to just release that, and you can now see. You can now see all the Java classes, the Java source files under each of those packages, and some of these are probably your favorite ones. Like this one is like the concurrency package, Java util concurrency, and spans quite a bit, isn't it? And then you have the Java utils date. This one looks like the lambdas, isn't it? Java
yeah.
utils function, by consumer and all that.
Oh yeah, by function,
Yeah.
binary operator.
Yeah. And
It's
then
nice just to have a look around. It's
yeah,
stuff you use every day
absolutely.
as a
So
developer,
this is what I do to explore, to quench my curiosity of what sits where, and that's how I get ideas. Oh, I can change that, or I can do that. In the meanwhile, let's have a look if the build's ready. Oh yes, it's ready. It took 6 minutes 41 seconds. The incremental build, quite some time, right?
Wow, build.
Yeah. Well, now we're going to use the same client program and build it using the new image that we just built.
Rerun our random
Yeah,
experimental
exactly.
little
Yeah,
class.
yeah.
Rewrote
So I'm going to run the same command there, and let's see what happens if the demo gods are happy with us. Hey, 72. Where is Mark? He'll probably be happy seeing that.
He left during the build.
Oh goodness!
It's too long.
I'm going to maximize that to show 72.
That's a victory.
Yeah. So and to prove that it has actually been changed, I can say hgdiff, and you can see, yeah, you can see that file is indeed being changed.
You've tried to sell this JDK to a few casinos, haven't you?
I have, and unfortunately
Unfortunately, not much luck, man, if I
failed. You
have
shouldn't
to
be
say.
saying this online, though. You know, I could get into a lot of trouble.
Your sales skills aren't as good as your programming, man.
yeah.
Otherwise, we'd be in trouble, wouldn't we?
Yeah, that as well. So I'm never going to apply for a sales job. Yeah, for that matter. Okay, so that is in short how you change the JDK, how you use the change JDK on a client program, and you'll see the client program behave differently. And this, in fact, is a patch that you're looking at that if I submit, will get heavily rejected.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no one's going to take the random class anymore, isn't it?
Change it,
Yeah. So what I want to quickly show, which I should talk to you guys earlier about, Simon, you want to look at the JImage thing that we talked about? Do you find it interesting? Why not?
Sure,
Yeah. So he's going to say yes anyways.
let's do that.
Yeah. So I am already in the. I'll actually reiterate, because let's start from like as if I'm in the source JDK folder. JDK 9. Yeah. Okay. So we are outside the build folder. Let's go into the build folder. In the build folder, there's another subfolder called Linux x86 normal. If you remember earlier, it had detected I have got a Linux OS, the x86 architecture, 64-bit. This is a normal build, but we could do a debug build. We could also do a client build. This is a server build.
So basically, that directory structure shows what target platform you're building for. Mike?
Exactly, yeah. So it does.
Your Linux box. x86.
Yeah, it categorizes it very well. Let's go into that folder, and there are quite a few subfolders. This is interesting. So the most interesting of them for us is the images folder. Remember, we use this command make images. The make images actually has told the build infrastructure process to actually go and create this folder. So let's go and see what's in that folder. So we have. Okay, we have the JDK and the JRE images earlier we spoke about. So that gets, yeah, let's look into what's into the JDK folder. And we have a slightly different structure, because I've noticed the conf, if you know, is not there in OpenJDK 8.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or JDK 8. And in the lib folder, we have a new guest waiting for us to explore. And who's the new guest over there? The new guest is none other than the modules folder. That's the modules folder. Let's,
I know, like Mark Reynolds.
yeah, so the RT jar that we spoke about earlier is now replaced with this modules folder. Now the modules folder's got 3 interesting JImage files in there. Earlier, I also found there's a new command in the bin folder. which I hadn't seen in an earlier version of Java, and that is the JImage. And this is how you use it. So it looks like it's like a zip program, or like a compression program, like jar.
So the viewers at home, Marty, I know like both Mark Reinhold, Paul Sandoz from Oracle both talked about the JImage and the module structure, haven't
Okay,
they? Which is
okay.
definitely worth having a Google online if you want to know more backstory.
Exactly.
To it. But the JImage is actually a zip file, is that right? Effectively,
It looks like it's like a jar program which does stuff slightly differently. We'll see in a second. So, say I have the JImage program and now I have access to the modules, and I want to see what's in the boot image module. So the way to do that, I say JImage list and the name of the JImage file. Hey, that's a lot. Let's say tail, or let's say more. Do you now recognize some of these classes? Because I think these are the classes you would find in RTjar.
Like bootstrap classes.
Yeah. And interestingly, which is what I did earlier, was I did a grep to see if a random class is in there. Guess what? It is in there.
That makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So earlier when I mentioned to you, we could have actually compiled the random class in JDK 9 and just inject it here and didn't have to wait 6 minutes 41 seconds. Imagine if you did that for 10 classes. Compiling each class takes like under a millisecond, and it takes another millisecond to inject that into the boot.
But it saves some time, man.
Yeah, rather than doing the 6 minutes. I don't know what the side effects would be, but I don't think that should be bad.
That's a good point, because the reason why it does rebuild everything is you can't always sort of reason about where the changes are going to actually affect, can you? So
Yes.
if you change a class, it might ripple through the actual JDK.
Yeah.
So that's why when it
For
when
the
you
secure
do a change,
safety
it
reasons,
does
yeah.
the whole build. So you have to be careful. I guess it's much like some of us probably have done it when we've used, like, say, Tomcat or whatever, opening up a war and chucking in a class file. You can get away with it sometimes you can't.
Yeah. Now there's something else we found out earlier today is I can actually extract this. So to prove that it's a module, it's a zip file or a jar file, we can actually extract this in a folder called boot modules folder, and you'll see there's a folder called boot modules folder, and that has the same content as what we did with the command earlier. If you saw earlier, all these packages are right in there. They've been now extracted as folders.
So you can go and have a look at the classes, like decompile them if you want to
I could do my favorite tree command on there, which I love doing. And then I can see, oh, I've done something wrong here. Yes, I have to specify a level. 3, 2.
Yeah.
So that's what the boot images looks like, which is actually kind of a good part of our RTjar right in there.
So for a lot of people, this is probably the first time they're seeing some of the Java or JDK 9
Yeah.
modules. Quite exciting, I think.
It is. So,
Sneaky
yeah.
feature.
So I will be putting up the instructions on how to replace compile classes into this. Of course, use it with caution, but it is going to save you 6 minutes 41 seconds in our case, and in some other cases probably 10 minutes or something like that.
Question in from Omkar, India.
Yeah.
Asking about the native method implementation. So is wanting to see some native C++ code interacting with the operating system. So in terms of making those changes, rebuilding, presumably you just need to go through the same process. Is that right?
It is. So the C++ files are mostly in the Hotspot repo, although you would find C++ files in other repos. I think I've seen it in Lang tools, but there probably might be other,
So, like garbage collection, all that kind of stuff.
Yes, so
So
mostly
there's nothing in here, nothing native here at all.
in the JDK repo there isn't, but let's quickly go into the Hotspot repo. I'll have to somersault.
I know some of your old documentation, Marty, you actually had a little sort of walkthrough, didn't you, of how you might alter the C++ code?
Yes, we have a blog post on that.
Yeah, so people can have a look at that.
Yes,
can't they?
yeah,
Google
and
for
I
that.
have linked it onto the. Oh, you should tell them about the Git book, the Adopt OpenJDK book, which has got a link to the blog post that that shows you how you can change the Hotspot
It's
code.
not as scary as it might. I mean,
It isn't,
It's not as scary
no.
as it might first think.
No,
But
it isn't.
It's fascinating to look through that.
Yeah, it isn't. So let's look at, since someone has brought up that question, let's look at
Which one is
Hotspot.
that? Which book's that?
That is if you go in there, and then there's a link in there that you can just click on. If you scroll down, that's the link you want to click on. Yeah, that one. Yeah, it's actually on your vJUG page as well.
Okay.
So this
I'll
is
send that round.
yes, this is more or less what the hotspot folder looks like. What we could do is we could say grep.cpp. Oh, I think it needs to be escaped. Or just CCP.
This is the trick of doing live searches, isn't it?
Maybe I need to do 5. Yeah, sorry. So yes, that wasn't. It was a little bit deeper than that. So the C++ folder, C++ files are in this folder called, or among the other folders. It's under the architecture folder, under the CPU folder, under VM, and then these are all the C++ files.
The actual make images command, Marnie, will
Yes,
actually
we'll recompile this as well.
using GCC.
Yes. Best if you're changing things in Hotspot, do a make clean image.
That's
Yeah.
good
Or
advice.
you
Yeah,
could just do make
fundamentals.
Hotspot, which will build everything else that depends on Hotspot as well. It's fairly smart, so you can't escape the builds. No matter what you change, it'll know what you've changed and fairly do everything again and not miss out anything. So yeah, that's a good one, Dan. Yeah, a whole lot of C++ files. You can spend years studying them and changing them.
Yeah, and still not knowing what they do.
Yeah.
So what about 15 minutes left? So what else?
Oh,
can you
we
show us?
do.
Definitely worth sharing the some of the links, Marnie.
Oh, yes.
Just so we can, I'll show them at the end as well.
Yes,
If
so-
people want to sort of have a read away and
Exactly.
maybe ask
So-
some questions off that.
Yeah, so in our presentation slides, we have a number of things we want to share with you, like the BetterF project we spoke about earlier, and that's the Bitbucket link to it. So it's what were the application technology stack used there? Java EE7.
Yeah, Angular. I think
Angular,
on the front end. We've gone through a few different revisions
Node.
of this, but it's worth popping along to the repo.
Yeah,
check it out.
yeah, clone the
There's
project.
some instructions there as well.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in getting involved, please do get in contact with us because we can
Exactly.
certainly point you in the right direction.
Sure.
So, as with many open source projects, the documentation can be fluid, should we say sometimes, can
Yeah,
it? So,
absolutely. This is a project in progress, so any help that we get is appreciated. We always need extra hands to help, especially in the Java EE space, and the Node.js and the AngularJS and all the other technology stack that it involves. So that's how to contribute to the BetterF project. Then we have the Getting Started Kit, which we spoke about earlier. I think Simon has already been proactive and shared the link. That's it's been nearly 2 years since October 2013, I would say. A little bit less than 2 years that I started working on this document, which was a massive Google Doc. And thanks to all the contributors, especially Sophia, I see Ivan in the crowd there. They contributed quite a bit. And it was a bit messy document, and only recently, a few weeks ago, I converted that into a Git book where I put all this, reorganized everything. There's still a lot of stuff I want to contribute and add to it. But
we're always looking for other contributions.
Exactly.
As much like Ivan and Sophia crew have been amazing. We're always
Yeah,
looking for other people to help.
absolutely. There's so-
translation's really important.
Yeah.
If you're watching and English isn't your native language,
Yeah.
please translate some of our stuff and spread
Yeah.
around your local community. That'd be very much
So
appreciated.
this is always interesting because it's like when you say we're always interested in people helping out. Why should someone help out? Because obviously someone's going to have so many different projects of their own. Why is someone going to take the time to do this?
So, what do you think, Dan? I learned a lot by getting involved in this project 3 years ago. What did you learn in the last year and a half too?
Yeah, loads, Marty. For me, son, it's a lot about. It's amazing seeing behind the curtains of actually something I've been coding in for 10 years. That was awesome. Just from a sort of personal benefit. And then it was really good. The community around OpenJDK is probably the most exciting thing, as with a lot of these open source projects.
Exactly.
The code is amazing, but the people are even more amazing. So I've learned so much. I've been connected with amazing people. I've traveled the world. Something too grandiose there, but as in. It's been some amazing opportunities to present in different countries, meet some interesting people, chat about ideas, Marnie, and so, there's so many reasons actually to get.
So your question actually taps into what's your career history been in the last 4 years? That'll be like an indirect question to me. So since I've been involved in the OpenJDK, and so many avenues have opened for me in my career, my knowledge about things, my confidence to do things hands-on. I didn't know anything about bash commands. Today I write bash scripts like I would write any other language. Knowing the internals about Java, the garbage collection, the VM, a lot of the fundamentals that we normally ignore or we don't look at or we don't get a chance to look at. This is the other bit of the 50% we don't know about. So these are the unknowns you would get to know about by getting involved in this project. And it only opens more avenues because I wouldn't be at this conference here talking to you. I wouldn't even have known you or Daniel had I not been involved in this project. And all the conferences that invite me to show them and share the knowledge about OpenJDK comes from being part of the OpenJDK.
So that's a great answer then. So get involved because then you might get to know Daniel or me.
Yeah, yeah.
Sounds
And
good advice, doesn't it?
you'll probably be on vJUG and NightHacking at the same
Right,
time.
yeah,
Who
yeah.
knows? At a conference in Germany in a theme park.
I often
all
say,
all
like,
put
you know,
together.
Maybe if you want to come with selfish reasons, I want to learn X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Then you stay for the community. That's
Yeah.
what I find.
Yeah.
A lot of people like just get involved, help your CV out, help your career out,
Yeah.
and then you actually realise you can do you can start helping other people. Which is
Yeah.
awesome.
And do you find it's individuals that supply patches or people working for companies that have a vested interest in the JDK?
Both ways. Like Twitter, Goldman Sachs. There's a whole heap of companies who are contributing not only because they have done something amazing and they want to give it back. Because OpenJDK has been open source, they loved what was in there, they improved it, and now they want to give it back to the community.
On that note, Manny, it's actually a great question for yourself, Simon, because we often find it's easier to get involved at a JUG level, a Java user group level, because as an individual, the JDK and JVM is so big. There's only so much impact you can make sometimes, and it can feel quite daunting. So we do recommend, we've done quite a few sessions at Java 1 and other sessions, we always say, get involved. If you've got a local Java user group, get in touch. Maybe there's something called Adopt JSR, which we're going to talk about tomorrow in a session in vJUG, or not just us, but Heather Vancouver is going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But if you haven't got a local Java user group, maybe think about spinning one up. You can always reach out to any of us and, and get advice on how to do that, because you can make so much more impact as a group. And if your company's doing it, hey, that's even better,
Yeah.
But often you do find it's the bigger institutions that do this kind of thing. So,
And what would so let's say someone goes to their JUG, how would they do that? As a hack session, a hack day?
I mean, tap us up for advice, Manny, can't they?
In London, we do it as a hack day. So every month for the last 2 years, John Stevenson from Heroku has been hosting. There's one happening in April, 25th of April, in the Hack the Tower hack day in the Salesforce office. And what we do is we just get together, and share the knowledge, and a lot of documentation that we've collected helps, and a lot of experienced people who hang around also helps. So and everybody can get started these days because there's all the resources you need available compared to like 2-3 years ago.
Like Java.net and a few other websites, we've actually put how to run a hack day up.
Yeah.
We've got like, a few of us got presentations, documentation up there. I ran a JSR money and currency. We all ran, I should say, a hack day in London. And we sort of spun off some VMs, some virtual machines containing the code for that. We gave some advice on how others, and we actually got a really nice email the other day, Marnie, didn't we?
Yes.
On the Adoption Discuss mail list saying, hey Marnie, Daniel, really appreciate you putting all your material online. We ran a hack day in Brazil or somewhere.
Yeah.
We're like, that's brilliant. Someone's taken our learnings and code, and we've helped someone else, and that's a great feeling.
Yeah, it is a good, and that they were able to use it without even having to rely on us, like independently, which is what
Pretty cool.
which is what you become once you get involved. You become independent because
it is like again, without sounding too cliched, it's a properly global effort, man. It's a lot goes on obviously in the States, a lot goes on in the UK, but a huge amount goes on in South America, all over Europe. We mentioned Sophia Jug already, and lots of other jugs. So it genuinely is a worldwide endeavour, and you can meet some wicked people.
Absolutely, yeah. Cool. Just to also say that the Getting Started Kit is like a Git book written in Markdown, and it's hosted on a GitHub repo. So you can actually fork the repo, make changes to it, and create a pull request. Add your chapters to it and create a pull request. When I accept it, it'll become part of the OpenJDK Getting Started Kit book.
Kind of fork and pull, money.
Exactly, and it's an ever-growing effort. Not last but not the least is definitely become involved with one of these mailing lists, especially the Adoption Discussing mailing list. We talk all and everything about OpenJDK on that. We also cover some bits on the London Java community. There are messages about OpenJDK now and then, but mostly
mainly sort of local, like London-based. We've got a few people from other countries involved.
The Adoption Discuss is definitely the place to go and open up an account and watch the messages and then basically participate. So with that, we'd like to say that we need you for JDK development. We've been saying this for quite some time, and we will repeatedly saying that. So you, me, and everybody is required for the JDK development. Follow the Twitter handle, because all our OpenJDK, Adopt OpenJDK, and Java messages, news is shared on there. And we have put together a whole lot of resources that everybody should have a look and maybe share it with their community. And with these slides, you're going to get hold of these resources. It's on a blog post, but a lot of these are very useful resources. Yeah.
Just going back to your previous slide, Marnie, and also touching on something Simon mentioned earlier on, as in like a lot of us really enjoy working with Java, don't we? So we want to help sort of guide it for the future. I know like the LJC did quite a lot of work with date and time and some of the Lambda stuff. Like you genuinely can make a difference. Like I consider Java my native programming language, so I'd love to see it be successful into the future. You know, so doing this kind of thing can actually help steer some of that kind of.
Absolutely,
really
yeah.
Cool, actually.
Another question from the vJUG Serkan Turgut. I'm suffering finding documentation of internals of Hotspot, how interpreter in the JIT works. So in other words, which class does what. So I guess a more general, high-level navigation of a source tree. Do you have any suggestions for that? Or in I guess in general, where would you go to look for documentation for?
One thing's worth mentioning, there is plenty of mailing lists.
Yes.
If anything, it's too many mailing lists.
Yes.
But you can ask us for advice. If you're interested in something, ping an email to the mailing list we mentioned before, Adoption Discuss, and we can point you in the right direction. There's many spec leads on the JSRs, there's many people that are interested to steward various bits of the JDK.
Yeah.
So that would be a good start. Ask us, and we can either point you in the right direction or we can ask them. There is a fair bit of documentation online, Marnie, isn't it? Sometimes it's finding it.
It is. So basically, I actually have put that here. So the Adopt OpenJDK Getting Started Kit is the best place to start because it not only has the link to the first very simple hands-on project on how to change Hotspot, since his question is related to Hotspot, but there's also links to projects and mailing lists, and I learned massive stuff from mailing lists because you watch the messages, you may not understand it, but after a while you get a hang of what they're talking about, and that's the way. Yeah, exactly. And that's the best way to start. Watch mailing lists, watch messages. You don't have to understand in the beginning, but eventually our mind is sharp enough to build up and associate one message with the other. And for something as massive and serious as Hotspot, you need a little bit of time to grasp it. Source code is the best documentation. I don't know if people do that, but if that's too hard for you, start the mailings with the mailing list. Look at the links that are posted in the Getting Started Kit. Follow them, and then go back to the mailing list, and then maybe take some courage and look at the code, because the Hotspot code is not really difficult to understand. It's fairly simple code. In fact, one of my slides, which I will show you just now because he's raised that question, actually shows you that the Hotspot source code is not as daunting as we would think it is.
Is that the reduced version, Marnie?
It is the reduced version, but we do have the.
So while you're looking at that, I'll summarise in what you were saying, which is pretty much for those of you who want to get involved. I guess first try for your JUG. Talk to your Java user group, local Java user group. See who else is interested. If there's a hack session that's available, if not, maybe try and create one.
Sounds good. If
not, try and contact people who are already on the right wavelength, like you guys, who can either help or point you in the right direction.
Yeah. So back to the question on the C++ or the Hotspot. This is a code snippet from the Hotspot code base, and if you look at it, I mean, anybody can understand what's going on in there. I mean, it's fairly English. The variables are very well named. The methods are very well named. There's very good simple documentation in there. Plus, the layout is understandable. And you open up C++ code in any decent editor, it'll color code it for you, so you won't have hard time understanding what's happening in this block of code here. I mean, it's so simple. It's saying that if the use serial GC flag is switched on, do this, do the mark and sweep process. If it's not, then if the concurrent mark and sweep is switched on, then if I have compiled this bit in there, because there's compiler directives in there in C++, you've got to appreciate that. You need to understand that as well. And then depending on if the use adaptive sizing is switched on, then use the adaptive sizing concurrent mark and sweep. Otherwise, use the concurrent mark and sweep. And then you dive deep into those methods to see how it goes. So I would walk through this way and try to understand what's going on, and of course rely on the documentation. But the source code is the final documentation. If you don't have any other documentation to hand.
Okay, awesome. So I'll let you guys. We've got just a couple of minutes left, so I'll let you guys close in just a sec.
Yeah.
Maybe summarise. One thing I will say while you guys think about that is if anyone in the virtual JUG is very interested in this and wants to start a mini hack group on the virtual JUG, or perhaps one thing we could do is maybe I could just nip into London every now and then and maybe stream some of the work that John does across the virtual JUG as well. Maybe we could do something like that to get others involved. Let me know, and we can sort that out. So So guys,
Yeah, cheers.
In terms of closing stuff, I think mine, worth putting that slide up again with all the rest.
That's the
That's the best thing, isn't
that's
it?
the
People
last.
can contact
Yeah.
any of us. and
Whoops.
then,
Yeah, that's the last slide you want to go on, which has links to all the resources. There's a resource section at the bottom of this link, and that has all the resources you could think of getting hold of.
and I've
this is
posted
very
that
good.
into IRC as well, so
Yeah.
so that others don't have to typo it.
Yeah, that's
Cool, awesome. Well, thank you very
Alright.
very much, Daniel. And
thanks
you.
to Steve for hosting us.
And thanks very much. Yeah, so a big thanks to JavaLand for letting us do this here. Big thanks to NightHacking for letting us use their stage and Stephen. Yeah, thanks guys for giving us a session, and we'll be back same time next time tomorrow.
Yeah,
which
same.
is with Heather, and we're going to be talking about 3 different JSRs. Which are going into the future of Java, so you can see what's coming up and what's to look forward to, and how you can make a difference and help that going forward. So thanks very much, guys.
Thanks,
Enjoy the rest
Simon.
of JavaLand.
Thanks, Steve.
Cheers. Thanks for coming.